Hi, and thanks for joining me. In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 important tips to help you have a successful phone job interview. Now, phone interviews are very different than in-person interviews because it's often difficult to see how you're doing during the interview. You can't see your interviewer's facial expressions, their body language, or generally their nonverbal communication when you're answering their questions. And many companies use a phone interview to see if they can eliminate you, because if they do, they don't have to spend resources and time arranging an in-person interview. So let's get to the tips to help you succeed and get that in-person interview. The first tip I have for you is to make sure that your answers are short and specific. This is very important because often the interviewer is actually a junior recruiter. That person may have a certain number of questions that they need to ask you, and then a checklist where they simply mark answered successfully or did not answer successfully. And of course, you want to make sure that you answer successfully. So it's important not to confuse the interviewer. And here is how to do that. The interviewer will ask you one of 2 types of questions. And the 2 types of questions are closed-ended and open-ended. Closed-ended questions typically ask you for facts, numbers, dates, or they can be answered with simply yes or no. So make sure that you review your resume and you're able to speak to the dates, the numbers, or anything else that you've specified on your resume. Make sure that if the question is a yes or no question, you simply answer yes or no. There is no need to explain, because if you start explaining, you might get yourself into trouble because you might confuse the interviewer. The second type of question is an open-ended question. These questions require an explanation from you. And the best way to answer them is to use the accomplishment statement formula. Now, I did a video in the past about how to create accomplishment statements, and you can find the link to that video at the end of this lesson. And again, the best way to prepare for that is to actually write an accomplishment statement for each of your previous jobs. This way, when the interviewer asks you a specific question about any type of experience you've had in the past, you have your accomplishment statements ready. So make sure that you have your resume and your prepared accomplishment statements ready in front of you before you start your phone interview. The second tip for you that I have is to be positive. Never say anything negative about your previous colleagues, managers, or the organizations that you worked for. As soon as you do, you will be disqualified from an in-person interview. So make sure to be positive. If you can't be positive, just talk about the facts, but not your opinion or judgments about them. And the third tip I have for you is to be enthusiastic during the interview. And the best way to do that is to smile when you're talking on the phone. Believe me, people can hear you smile when you talk with them on the phone. And when you smile, you sound more enthusiastic and more energetic. And to prepare to be enthusiastic during a phone interview, prepare before the interview. Do some running on the spot, or raise your arms and wave them around before the interview. And also, smile Force yourself to smile. Think of something funny or something that made you happy that you experienced before you have the interview. It makes a huge difference. So to review the 3 tips, tip number 1, make sure your answers are concise. Make sure they are short and specific. Tip number 2, be positive and never say anything negative about your past experience. And tip number 3 is be enthusiastic. Smile. It makes a huge difference. I hope this tip was useful for you, and as always, if you have any comments or questions, please make sure to post them below this video, and I do my best to reply to every comment and question.